At this point of the season, and you're looking at 46 games in, they've made the coaching change. Does that signify that Brendan Shanahan has completed enough of evaluation to let his general manager make significant changes to the roster?
I would think so, and if the word out on the streets are that they are trying to do it, and as Nick Kypreos reported the other night on Saturday, the interest in Ryan O'Reilly, then you do the math as far as what you need to do. You have to unload contracts. There's no acquiring any of these type of players, and I think O'Reilly's got a $6 million or just under $6 million cap hit. So somebody's got to be going the other way and unloading some of your contracts
with a big ticket.
So that's Dion, Phil, Clarkson.
Right.
I worry about a Jake Gardiner. Now you start to look at some of the younger players. Like I think, you have to start looking at moving a piece or two or three out of that quote-unquote core group. But then I start worrying about that next tier. And I look at a Jake Gardiner, and he's just playing and I hate to use words like these, but he's playing horrible hockey right now.
Confidence.
None whatsoever. He just seems in a fog out on the ice. The other night against St. Louis, and Nick showed a reel going into the game and then added to it throughout the game.
There's a prime example of an offensive player, or at least a lot of part of his game. You would think he's an offensive player. I tend to disagree. He skates extremely well. His ability to go back and get the puck in his own end and elude the forecheck is second to none in the league. The first pass, his patience with the puck, but he is not a Thomas Caberlet or a Drew Doughty or any of the type of offensive guys. Once you get in the offensive zone to make things happen, and I've said this to Darren before, if I'm a forward and I'm in the offensive zone, I'm wondering, when am I getting the puck from Jake Gardiner? There just doesn't seem to be, and that's just an objective opinion on my part. And now when you've got a different voice behind the bench, he's had Peter Horachek as a defensive coach. I mean, as a player, you absorb what the head coach does tell you, but you're still dealing with the assistant coach for the most part. So, why is Jake struggling so much now with the coaching change?
Do you think you would be in his best interest to be moved?
In his best interest? That's a great question, Darren. I think maybe a fresh start for a number of these players is probably one of the requirements to at least.
Okay, were you ever in the situation, maybe not as young as Jake Gardiner is, but through the course of your career, where you were struggling, you got moved, and you saw the positive? No, I don't think anybody wants to be traded unless you're not playing.
Yeah, the only part for me in my career was a surprising trade, getting traded back here to Toronto when it just wasn't working out for me in Winnipeg. Getting traded with Eddie Olczyk and playing for John Paddock. For me, structure was important. I like to be given a role, and then when I came here, I was able to, fulfill a role with Bernsey. It was just like, here's your job, here's what we do, here's what's you're expected and how to play, and then a player can thrive in that kind of environment. At least a player like myself was able to.
So maybe the better question is, do you think Jake Gardiner knows what he's supposed to be?
I'm not sure because again, I think he'd like to be that, obviously the offensive guy, just rushing the puck up, and now there's so much focus on defense that he's right back to, I've got to play defense and not make any mistakes, and that's a real, bad position for any player that's struggling or lacking confidence. But he still plays a lot. So when you talk about if you're now being a healthy scratcher, you've been your minutes have been substantially reduced, then you would start questioning yourself. But I'm not exactly sure why Jake is not feeling better about himself.
It really looks like, as much as people jump on he's out of position, it almost, to me, looks like he's trying to cover everybody. Like, there's a guy open there, he's going there. Guy open down low, he's going there. He's trying to do...
He looks disoriented.
Too much.
Yeah.
Whether that's a sign of panic, inexperience.
Yeah. And you're probably mentioning that first goal the other night in St. Louis on, I believe it was the Shattenkirk goal. There was two other mistakes before that. Jake was way out.
He was
of
high
position.
in the slot.
Yeah, out of position, and yet Bozak kind of waved at Shattenkirk down the wall. JVR was in a position to react now, and for whatever reason, he was just, again, right there in a situation where Why are you giving him that amount of time? That's where the players, I think, defensively, even at times like a JVR, are thinking too much rather than reacting. And that's the challenge for Peter Horachek, is to get your better players to become better defensive players.